going to throw this out as a solution. This is the solution. Let Ringside be your only source of information for all things. We have one podcast, maybe 2 a week, so you're not going to be on it all the time. Our webpage, we're just going to update it once a week.
We'll probably break who won the election before anybody else at this rate.
I think we're in the running. We actually probably are in the running, yeah. All right, so this is November, and no, it's not No Shave November and something else. It is Jesus Coming Again November. It's End Times November in the church. It's exactly. So let's talk about what does that mean? Speaking of, it's Blue Diamond November. No Blue Diamond November. I said it. You figure it out. All right. Matthew 25. Let's have Jesus lead us in on this, but we'll talk about the end times. What that has to, what a perfect time to talk about the end times, and I think people need to know about the end times right now. I'll read it real quick. 25. Again, it will be like, this is a series. 24, 25. Jesus talking about the last days. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one businessman, to one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another one bag. Is that right? Gold? Each according to his ability. And then he went on his journey. The man who had received the 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. Donald Trump.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so also
sir.
the one with the 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned, settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrust me with 5 bags of gold, see if you give 5. His master said, well done, blah, 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 blah. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came, Master, look, you gave me 2, and I've gained 2 more. His master said, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful to a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. And the man who had received the bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. It absolutely sounds like communism. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown, gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest at least. So take the bag of gold from him, give it to the one who has 10 bags, for whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them, and throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, or there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What in the heck is Jesus talking about? Is this good business sense? It actually is. I think anybody would say that's pretty good business practice. Paul, what's your thoughts? What are you going to do in this? Are you going to preach on this 2 Sundays from now, I think it is. And what are you going to say? Have you guys done this in craft of preaching yet?
Yeah, we talked about it the other day. I think so. There's several things. So what we tend to do with these end times parables is we forget that so the whole thing starts at the beginning of chapter 25 with the parable of the 10 virgins, right? And that begins with the kingdom of heaven is like 10 virgins that go out, blah, 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 waiting for the Bible. Mm-hmm. And so then this one starts with, and likewise, or whatever, right? In the same way. So this is a parable about the kingdom of heaven. Yep. Therefore, it's not about your performance with the talents. It's telling you something about the kingdom of heaven, right?
Good.
And so it was interesting in our discussion. One of the things we talked a lot about was
so Paul, just say for the listeners out there. So what this is good learning how to read the Bible. 25 at that time, the kingdom of heaven. Now this is at that time. I think he's still the end times. You'd say, right? He's talking about the last day. Kingdom of heaven will be like. That's really important what you're saying. And then if you read this is English, by the way. I assume you guys looking at the Greek. 14 again. It will be like. In other words, you need to, first of all, whatever happened in the first parable should somewhat be applied to this, right? It's connected. All right, go.
Yeah. So, and speaking of parables, so there's traditionally we would see there's like 2 main kinds. There's like the kingdom of heaven parable. So they're telling you something about the kingdom of heaven. And then there's like what we call like kind of piety parables. So like how, this is about your action, right? Well, this is a kingdom of heaven parable. So it's it's the kingdom. The king has gone away. He's entrusted things, right? And so the interesting thing is it doesn't seem to be an issue like what is made, like the value of the doubling of the goods or whatever. The issue seems to be what that third guy thought about the master. Like his understanding of the master was that he was just harsh, and that basically so he was afraid to do anything with what he was entrusted with. And so there was, because there was, in essence, there was no freedom, there was no gospel, there was just the terror of what this guy was. And so he does nothing, right? And so he spurns the generosity of the master, or the goodness, or maybe you can even say he rejects the mercy of the master. And so in so doing, he just buries it, does nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that's
like namby-pamby.
And it's not, again, it's not that, I don't think it's even so much that he didn't double the money. That's not the issue. That doesn't seem to be the issue.
No, he says
seems to be
interest would have been fine.
Yeah, he was like, the issue is you believe that I'm just harsh.
You didn't know me. You don't really know me.
You don't know me.
Yeah.
And therefore what you have is going to be taken from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he chastises the master, right? Rather, he says, I know you're a hard man. You want what you didn't work for. I mean, he chastises the master.
He does do that. Yeah, that's good.
I mean, his attitude is actually,
I was afraid,
aggressively against the master. I was afraid, and it's just not the right attitude towards the master.
You need a B attitude.
You need a B attitude.
Be happy attitude.
Yeah,
you need an attitude adjustment.
Yeah,
that's the name of my sermon.
That's probably not the direction to go preaching that one, but I thought it was interesting though that he chastises the master for.
And so, I mean, you think about it, the first two guys though, so they take what they've been given, and they've been given according to their ability. It's not like crazy, like they go, and he comes back and he's like, man, great job. And what is it? Come into my favor. I think it's like literally in the Greek, it's like, come into my joy. Like, this is where now you reside, in my joy. And the guy who rejects his master, and it's basically, he ends up cut off from that. Right. And so if this is about the kingdom of God, it's telling you about how things are going to play out in the end. Right. You've been given these things according to your ability. And it's not your performance that matters in it. Just like the virgins with the oil, it's not like, did you bring extra oil, or
did you fill up your lamp?
It's that, the kingdom will come when you don't know. So you should just be ready.
Yeah. And that's the first one, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's the first one. Kind of like, what are you guys doing? You don't really believe that it's going to happen. And the second one isn't quite that, right? He believes it, in fact, but he doesn't. And I think that's where your point might be validated. It's not like, it's kind of like the first, that it's happening. And I think Jesus' goal of these parables is the world's going to end, dudes. It's going to end, and the time of grace is going to end at some point, and you need to take that seriously. This is slightly different in that he knows it, but he interprets this master wrongly. And I think that makes your case. Unlike the five virgins, bridesmaids, this guy didn't really know the fullness of this master. Is only just literally just scared.
Yeah.
How does this get misinterpreted and misdone? How can we mess up this parable?
Well, I think it gets misinterpreted when it becomes a matter now of your performance with what you've been given.
Mm-hmm.
Like how well are you? What gifts, Joel, have you been given by the
Are you
master?
wasting your gifts?
Are you wasting them? Are you using them? And when he comes back, are you going to hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant," or "Depart from me"? Right. I mean, and so we get it wrong when we we say this is not about the kingdom of heaven, but this is about our performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it becomes about the return on the investment, right? I mean, I think it's still faithful is it still faithful to preach it as, using what God has given you, joyously using his gifts?
Of course.
And waiting for his coming with excitement, Master, you gave us so much. We used what you gave us. This was awesome. Versus, I'm not going to use what you gave. I don't know. I wonder if, as I think about the guy who buries it and doesn't use it, I'm thinking to like churches that are like, we have this great gift of the gospel. We have these great gifts of our Lord. But the master expects them to be used perfectly. And so if we don't hold our hands the right way, if we don't bow enough,
good.
Then the master's going to be angry. And so we'd rather create a hedge.
Let's be safe
around what we do and be safe than actually use what we've been given. Because our master might punish us if we don't have a good enough return, or we didn't. I don't know. I've been thinking about that a little bit in anticipation for that reading and how we might faithfully address that.
That's a good.
We didn't do a great enough Civil War reenactment, so now the master's going to be, be angry at us, because he's a hard man and he expects a lot of us.
And I think you have your churches, and you guys probably know it when you're like, we need to not play it so safe as a church and save for a rainy day. There shouldn't be a large amount in our bank account when Jesus comes back. Now, that can be, let's invest it and do all we can still be, I don't get my master because I'm thinking Jesus is mad because I'm saving it. And that's my motivation, as opposed to my master does something with nothing. My master actually makes nothing. It makes something out of nothing. He actually, you know what I mean? Like, so it wasn't just you shouldn't fear. You are actually free to not be afraid of messing up with your master's money. You don't need to be afraid of that. Yeah. But also God makes stuff out of nothing. So he actually can do amazing stuff. Just relax and be plentiful. And I think for church bodies, for your churches that you're leading, sometimes you need to tell them like, I don't care about next year. God provides. It's his stuff. He does amazing things with this. Just go forward, but out of joy and not the mission. You need to tell us about Jesus or you're going to hell. I mean, you get that a little bit, right? You need to multiply that money, or God's going to be mad because there's people going to hell and you're not helping them. That's actually not the motivation for mission.
Right on.